Hi, I'm JT with Erra.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Grasser Productions.
Hi and welcome to Grasser Production. My name is Andrea. Next to me there are Jesse and JT from Erra, who are going to enter the stage very soon here in Nuremberg. Thanks for taking your time for a little talk. Thank you. You've been on tour in Europe quite a while already and only have very few gigs left to go. How's the tour been so far? Have you had any outstandingly remarkable experience yet that you could tell us about?
Yesterday was a really good show. We played in, where were we yesterday? Cologne? We were in Cologne. Generally, the shows that have, bigger rooms and more packed people, and hopefully with that type of environment, you get people with energy. It would be awful if we showed up somewhere and the room was full and we couldn't get some reaction, but it was a really good reaction. So Cologne was good. We had a really good time in Sweden. London was great. Honestly, there weren't really any bad shows. Just some were different environments, and the reaction has been really good overall. We've been really happy with our overall how the different cities have received us.
Yeah, nice to hear that. About 4 years ago, your album Augment came out, whereas the title means the augmentation of the band. In which things did you exactly enhance yourselves, and in which ones did you maybe not do so?
I think, I guess that was the first time we wrote a record, and it was something that we were expected to do. What I mean is, for the first record, we weren't touring and we weren't doing it professionally, so the only motivation behind writing the first record was just to write songs for fun. And I guess the second time around, for Augment being the second record, there was more, I guess you could say, pressure, because we had some fans now, and we had people to please, so the motivation behind the record was different, so we'd kind of grown as a band and entered this kind of new sort of part of it that we weren't used to, which was doing it professionally, because we wrote the first record right out of high school. So
there's a pretty cool thing about your latest album Drift. Your fans can actually buy the exact guitar tabs from that album, which I haven't ever heard of any band doing this or offering this. I don't know. Is it a rather uncommon thing, and how did you came up with the idea anyway in the first place?
It exists. I don't think every band that we've toured with has done it, but we've definitely there's definitely a few bands that do it. August Burns Red does it for most of their records.
Wow.
The company is called Sheet Happens. It's a Canadian company, and you can either send them your tabs and they'll notate it for you and convert it to Guitar Pro into the notebooks, or they'll actually, if you don't have tabs, they'll figure it out on their own and send it to you. I actually tab my own music anyways, so I just sent them what I had. But yeah, there's a lot of bands that they do tab books for, like Periphery and August Burns Red, bands like that. So,
I feel like it is bands where they're more guitar centric, obviously, and a lot of the bands that are making the tablature books are the ones that also write all the music, so it makes sense.
And how did your fans react to that? Was there a large request on that?
Yeah. I think people definitely were wanting them. Seems like that was a good thing to do. We're definitely gonna do it for the next one.
We had 2 people on this tour come out to the table and ask for the book. Even.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Done.
Let's just talk a little bit more about Drift. The most exceptional thing about the album probably is your new singer, JT. Now, how did your fan base react to that change, particularly keeping in mind that he's the former singer of Texas in July?
I would say pretty well.
It's definitely no joke that we've had also good vocalists in the past, and my vocal style is kind of different from the other two. I would say my bass line scream is higher, so it's definitely challenging and exciting to try to push my limits and range as a frontman and a vocalist to try to match or put my own twist on old content. But it makes me a better artist. and it's and one of my favorite questions to ask is fans that are come up to the table and say I do a really good job with the old content, and that makes me feel good because I know that's not my specialty, and it's always nice to hear that I'm doing a good job with the stuff that I didn't write and I wasn't a part of.
Oh, that sounds nice. Sounds good. And Jesse, you have a side project going on besides the band Erra. How do you cope with that as a band? Like, can it sometimes be difficult, or are you rather getting along with it really good and everything's cool?
It definitely has been difficult up to this point because that band isn't touring, so there really hasn't been any schedule conflict whatsoever. My plan for next year is just to kind of like ping pong the two bands off of each other to get Ghost Alice to tour, just kind of during Erra's off time, just kind of go back and forth to make sure both bands are doing what they need to do. So no, I just want to split the priority. I don't want to like, you know, I think everybody knows I don't want to like have to like choose. So I think if that was the case, or if I like had an ego in terms of my other band, you know, and wanted it to be all about me, I think that would become a problem, but I don't think I give off that vibe.
What do you think about that?
No, not at all.
Both bands.
We really enjoy it too. We want him to be able to have it succeed as well, so we've always backed it and we enjoyed it as well. I pre-ordered the record.
If anything, I would say Ghost Alice. Is taking a back seat for Erra, but I do want to start doing more with Ghost Alice. So I want it to be a little more even, because so far Erra's got a lot more work and progress put into it than Ghost Alice has, and I want them to be a bit more even, because obviously I am. But the band, it's no secret to the band that I'm very attached to my solo thing. Like, it's just obviously very personal, so it is important to me.
Yeah,
but
I hope it's gonna work out good for you.
Yeah, sure. I think so.
It's definitely, I mean, from an outside perspective, it's definitely hard to see, you know, him trying to basically fund two things at once. You know, we want to make Erra grow, but then instead of using things to help Erra, he has to also use his personal funds to make Ghost Atlas grow. But that is good, because as Erra grows, it will be easier to hopefully make his other project bloom as well.
Yeah. And once you mentioned that you devote yourself with philosophy, what impact does this have on your music?
Sorry, what does...
You mean like the life perspective, or philosophy and music?
I'm not sure. I've read that somewhere on the internet about you, and you said that in another interview, that you devote yourself with philosophy, and does it somehow affect your music? Like, is philosophy something you like, or you?
I think I understand. Like state of mind during the process of writing, for sure, has an effect. I'm like always very conscious of those things. I think you can like bypass certain things. Like, for example, I've always thought it's like easier to write when you're bummed out, when you're sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially for you writing lyrics, because it's just like
it happened.
Yeah.
It happened in the studio, actually.
Yeah, same for both of us. I think we both were in weird places when we were writing the lyrics for the newest record that isn't out yet. But for like a record like Drift was like an up period. Things were going really well. So you can still write cool material, even dark material, when you're in that state of mind, but it's like harder to bypass. You have to like put yourself in alternate situations in your head to like kind of write, you know, like sadder things or just things that are going to affect people more.
Sometimes you have to recall like dark memories or like the edgier aspects of life just to create interesting content.
Totally. Or just like hypothetical like situations.
But is that easy for you, or is it kind of like rather hard to put
if you're
yourself?
already going downhill, it's really easier to keep rolling. But that's just for lyrics. I don't really know how I don't know how you do it for guitar. Like, I would guess, does it work the same for writing riffs?
No, it doesn't work the same for writing riffs. But I will say, like, it's easier just to be creative when like you don't have a lot of other comforts around you. Like, when there's like a lot of things keeping you happy and making you comfortable, you know, you don't have to rely on guitar for it. But like when you're in like a really shitty time, it's good to have music. Like being creative towards something definitely helps. So yeah, I actually do think it is easier when you're in kind of a bummer state. But if you're like too bummed out, kind of like I definitely had that experience a few months ago. Like I was too bummed out and I just couldn't even focus on anything but being bummed out. So when you're in too low of a state, you can't get any work done. Like if you're like in a depression. But when you find that middle ground and kind of start working out of it, that's like where the stuff really comes together. And for the new record, me and him were both bummed out. And the lyrics that I wrote, pretty much the way it works is I write my singing, he writes his screaming, mostly. So for like my singing, I wrote half of the record lyrics and melodies in like 2 days because I had so much to say. So that was a first in a long time.
In another interview, Jesse, you mentioned that everyone has a job while they're home so they can save money for the next tour. What are your jobs back home?
So I work at a bar called Black Market, and it's a cool metal bar. We serve great burgers and beers and whiskey. Alex also works at a restaurant called Buffalo Wild Wings. Sean is a barista. He loves making coffee. He used to, I don't know if does he still work for the donut truck?
No.
He used to work for a donut truck and serve donuts. We'd have sporting events, and he would be in the truck selling donuts.
He works at the same bar. JT works at the same bar that our last vocalist works at as well. They work together. The old singer of our band and JT worked together.
I kind of felt bad at first working with asking Ian for a job because I did replace him, and I didn't want him to think it was weird, because I think it took some time for Ian to realize that I love him and we all love him, and it was just like we just wanted to work in the same place. It's a great job, but it is kind of funny that I do work with Ian. Yeah. But I love Ian.
And where did you work?
I worked at Toys R Us for 3 years, but for the last couple of years, I've just like been doing this, and then like the side project helps. That's part of why I wanted to keep Ghost Alice independent, is because the more I could do on my own, the more I could get away with not having to get a job. So I don't have a lot of money, but for me, like, time is just so valuable, and I would not trade the last couple of years for anything. Like it just, when you just like quit, when you take that big step, it's really scary. But when you just commit all your time to doing creative things, like, it really does like pay off in a big way. Yeah. It's hard to do. I'm not gonna pretend that it's easy. And even now, there are times where I like am low on money, but at this point, I just refuse to worry too much about it because the time that I have is very valuable to me.
Let's come to a topic I guess most of your fans are already excitedly waiting for. In May, you made an announcement via social media with, I quote, "I think it may be time to write a new record." Did you actually start working on some new music at that exact point, or have you already worked on it before the announcement? And how's the process going?
I think
it was in May.
I don't know who posted that one. I'm trying to remember.
I think it was you. Was it? I might have been. I mean, he started writing riffs about that time, and then like gradually we started to produce content, and then we entered the studio for a single that, what was that, July or I don't know, early in the summer, but we decided we weren't quite ready. So then we took more time to write, and then we entered the studio again in, I can't remember, September, around my birthday.
Yeah, like August, September. Yeah, so earlier when I was talking about when you get in that point where you're like too down at the bottom, depressed, like, and you try to write, that's kind of what happened to us. Like, a lot of people don't know, we went to record a single over the summer, and I was kind of in that point, and I just like, we kind of put this song together in the studio and just listened back, and we were just like, it just wasn't good enough. Yeah. But we enhanced it over the next couple months, and I kind of got out of that rut and got creative and wrote the rest of the record.
Now going?
Good. I actually think the new record's really sick.
I love it.
Can you tell us a bit more about it already? It's
funny because at first, like, you don't know what a lot of things are going to be until everything starts to come together. So I don't want to say it was stressful. It was just like it was stressful. I think we were just eager to see where everything was going to end up when it was all said and done. So we're in the process of like finalizing mixes and getting it prepared to be released.
Oh wow!
It's coming.
Could you maybe even tell when approximately we can expect the release?
I'm kind of scared to, I will, but the reason I was scared too is because we had an idea for a while of it being like January, and now that's kind of getting pushed back. Well, February, sorry, but it's getting pushed back a little bit. So I don't want to say too early, and people be like, "Where is it?" But I think we should have at least songs to release by February for sure. Like you will hear a new song by February. I hope that I'm not lying. I hope that happens.
And can you tell us something about the direction this album is going? Like, does it sound any different to your past albums?
If you enjoyed Drift, you'll like the new record. It's a continuation of mindsets and things we had. It's definitely not like a Drift 2.0 or a part 2. It's just, I think it's an appropriate growth of where the band has been traveling since Augment. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, from Augment to Drift and Drift to this record.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. If you like Drift, you'll like it. It's I think Drift is more Drift feels a little bit more melodic. Not to say that the new one isn't melodic. We've always been melodic, obviously, but like the new one's more.
It's pretty dark, honestly.
It's dark.
It's dark.
Yeah, like a lot of the tone of the like some of the songs, some of the riffs are like darker. The lyrical content is like definitely darker because, like I said, it's more of like a genuine place of darkness that we were both kind of going through. So, yeah, in terms of like the heart of it, I think it's stronger, but I do think it's different in Drift in that way. I think that's the biggest difference is that like the music sounds darker, like the guitars and everything are darker, and definitely some of the vocal styles and the lyrics. But yeah, it's definitely more like Drift than the other two records.
I think it's unintentionally more authentic too, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, not that anything else we haven't written or produced isn't authentic, but like because it's coming from more places of emotion and like human experience, that's just like I think a lot of bands or a lot of fans and well, I guess bands that will listen to it as well will connect with this content. It's exciting to know that it's coming out soon.
Yeah,
sure.
I think we're all very looking forward to it. You're about to hit the stage in only a few minutes, hours, an hour or two, here in Nuremberg. On what things do you specifically focus when playing a show? Like, what is important to you to deliver a really good gig?
For me, I try to focus as little as possible because when I focus too much, I psych myself out and I overanalyze. So I try to just focus on the people that are having fun and I just try to have a good time and not fixate too much on like things like messing up because I'll give myself too hard of a time sometimes, Yeah. So I just like really try to get out of my head and not focus too much and just enjoy myself.
Oh, that's like my biggest weakness. I definitely fall into that pit sometimes that he just talked about where I focus too much. But I honestly think it is really important, at least for me, because I think one of my jobs as a frontman is to command the room and get people to do what I want and wake them up and not just show them a good time, but make them have fun and make them show them what Erra is all about. Show them that we're here to play our music and play it well and show the room like a good experience and the city a good experience. So I think it's definitely important as a frontman to be able to command the crowd and get them to wake up and rock out and enjoy what we do.
Well, I think you do a very good job of it.
Yeah, you will see later.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, we've had great reactions in the city, and it hasn't been too difficult. So that definitely makes my job a lot easier. And there have been occasions where you do your best, and it seems like everybody's asleep out there, but you have to do your best to not let it get to you.
See,
try.
On those nights, I just like drink one extra beer, and I'm just I was like, I don't care if you hate this. I'm gonna have fun whether you do or not.
We're gonna have fun. I've said this to people before. Like, we could play for 2 penguins like in Antarctica, but I'm still gonna like pretend like we're playing in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah. See, if it's like 50 people, then like maybe 3 beers. If it's 2 penguins, probably 6 beers, and I'll have a good time.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for the interview, and have lots of fun rocking the stage tonight. Well, it's really nice to meet you.
You too.
Nice to meet you as well.
Bye bye.